Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Everything the SNP touches falls apart and turns to dust. Be it health, social care, education, you name it, it's rubbish because the SNP have got involved. And the same is true, of course, of policing. Now, the first thing that they did was to merge all the police forces into a single force, call it Police Scotland, and that way you've only got one chief constable to buy off. And that is, of course, what could easily happen. The trouble is that this merged force now is not fit for purpose. Good cops are leaving, the bad cops are remaining. Even the ones that are there and are good just aren't available all the time. Try, for example, getting a policeman on the Isle of Bute after midnight. You can't. They're all asleep. So anyone on Bute who wants to commit a crime knows he just has to wait until they knock off duty, and he's got until 8 AM the next day. Simple, isn't it? Why is it so bad? Well, a whistleblower has come forward and he is explaining all the problems. This is someone from within the police. He's remaining anonymous, obviously, but he's saying, calling it as it is, basically, and saying what all the problems are and how, and why it needs to be sorted out. So we'll take a look at this article, see what's going on. But honestly, it's another example of why the SNP just cannot be trusted with anything. Here goes. So, Police Scotland whistleblower says staff are at breaking point. The public isn't getting the service they deserve from the police in Scotland, according to a whistleblower who says staffing cuts have left officers at breaking point and that they are quitting the force. When you put someone under stress and overworking them and having insufficient resources immediately does that. They're constantly on edge. It's a strain on their mental health. Ultimately, that filters through. It's a strain on their physical health. And this is why people leave or take extended sick leave. And you haven't got enough people there in the first place. How the hell can you cover? And so the problem remains. It is a self-reinforcing problem. And that's what's happened. The SNP have just not invested in policing. They're just not invested in the numbers or in the resources. So the senior officer painted a grim picture of policing, claiming the area he worked has had as often as few, even as little it says there, but it should be as few, as 7 police covering a population of about 250,000 people. 7 policemen for 250,000 people. That is ridiculous. That's no different than having no policemen whatsoever. He said 3 or 4 good cops a month were quitting and around 40 officers had been absent with stress-related illnesses over the past 2 years. Well, of course they are. When you're working like that, you do not get any break. There's no relent, of all that constant pressure of bang, bang, bang. Because, 250,000 people, there's going to be a lot of crime. A lot of it's going to be low level, but it's going to be consistent. He says he fears it will take a serious incident, such as the ending of somebody's life, the self-ending, for the relentless working conditions to improve. And it comes after unions warned of a policing crisis as a proposed 3.7% cut in workforce to deliver a balanced budget will mean over 200 police staff and over 600 officers will be cut from a police force which is already massively overworked and under-resourced. The officer contacted the Herald after reading our story about a new approach to overnight policing on the Isle of Bute that has angered the community. This is what I was saying about them. Basically, they go to bed at midnight and you just can't get them until 8 o'clock in the morning. In fact, he'd say it, yeah. Officers are now on call rather than on shift. What the hell was that? Oh, it's a dog. There was a funny noise there. It was a dog falling over. Unbelievable. Fell asleep on a pile of books and fell off. Anyway, it says that they're on shift from 12 AM to 8 AM rather than... on call rather, from 12 AM to 8 AM rather than being on shift. And from 2 AM to 8 AM at weekends. So they basically just go to bed and there isn't a policeman there. The whistleblower said he sympathised with islanders and officers involved in the 3-month pilot. Well, you can sympathise, but it isn't going to help those people who are suffering from a sort of a burglary or break-in or something like that, or a mugging, you name it. If there's no policeman at all on the island, and the one that there is, oh well, he's having a sleep, he's asleep. That isn't policing. I mean, anyone who wants to commit a crime knows now, between midnight and 8 in the morning, they've got, you know, all that time in the world to do what they like. Because by the time you phone the policeman, roused him from sleep, he's got up, he's got dressed, had a cup of tea, made a bit of toast, got in his car, driven where it is. You know, what? You want blues and twos and an immediate response. Anyway, he said that the public isn't getting the service they deserve, and the police aren't getting the job they deserve. The public aren't getting the service, never mind that they deserve, that they are being taxed for, they're paying for. He says the area we cover has a population of about 250,000, and 9 times out of 10 we have 7 or 8 cops covering that area. When I started around 15 years ago, it would have been normal to have around 20 to 25 on shift. If one area is short, they'll take from another, which leaves them short. Ultimately, we can't do our job, and the police are genuinely broken. I spoke to someone who said it's going to take the self-ending of a cop before they realise we've got to do something here. I hope it never happens, but I think it will. People who are under constant stress like that frequently do stupid things. And it's a result of the stress. You know, it's not that they are particularly that way inclined. It's just that the minds cannot foresee the top of the hill to go over to know that they're going to be on the way down again. That isn't there. They need not to cut the police numbers by 800. They need to increase them by 1,000. That costs money. So perhaps they can stop wanking it away on independence brochures, you know, and actually hire a few more policemen. That would help. Maybe not spend 10 million a year on foreign embassies and ambassadors. That would help. Maybe not spend £8.5 million a month on spin doctors for the NHS. That would help. But no, this is the SNP. They've got to wank money away on stupid, useless things all the time because that's all they know what to do. Meanwhile, the people of Scotland suffer. The people suffer. They suffer because there's no NHS, there's no social care, the children are suffering in school with a lack of teachers, and now society at large is suffering because there aren't enough policemen to do the job. What is wrong with the SNP? Why can they not do their damn job? Now, I'm just going to come down here just a little bit more because it said here, it's accepted that staff are going to go off for 6 months, come back for 3 or 4 months, then get burnt out and go off again on stress release. And that's what happens, and this is going to be constant. Now, the SNP administration entered 2 Holyrood elections with a manifesto commitment to deliver 1,000 extra officers on 2007 levels, preventing the number falling below 17,234. They're already lower than that, and they're about to fire 800 more. The pledge to maintain those levels was dropped by Nicola Sturgeon in 2016, and the police officer spoke on the condition on condition of anonymity, saying he wanted the public to know what condition officers were working under and linked some of the problem to the nationalisation of the force in 2013. That was the year it all became one, it all became Police Scotland, and it all went to hell in a handcart. And he's completely right. When you keep pushing people to the very edge, time and time, every single day, they are stressed every day, stressed, pushed, tired, emotionally drained, physically wrecked. They're going to stress. They're going to go, they're going to take 6 months off, they're going to do something stupid and end their own life, you know. And it's all down to the SNP and their lack of ability to maintain a decent economic outlook in the country that is sufficient to raise enough tax to pay for policemen, because they keep wanking that money away on stupid vanity projects. If you could take, let's say, £100 million, because that's what they blow on the NHS and the foreign embassies and whatever, £100 million would hire quite a few policemen, at least 1,000 policemen. Easy, isn't it? But they won't do that because that would involve doing something good. That would involve them concentrating on their day job and not pushing for their independence. They've got to have those embassies because they're going to be independent. You know, they've got to have the spin doctors in the hospital to show how good hospitals are under their watch so that they can be trusted when they get independence. It's all there. We all know the truth. They're a bunch of useless tossers. And now people will suffer for it. I'll stop there and come up. Now I've just done a back of the envelope calculation. 8.5 million a month, right, times 12 months for the year. Add your 10 million in for your foreign embassies. That's 112 million pounds a year that the SNP are blowing on two projects, two things. 110 or 112 million pound a year. If you were to pay these policemen an average of 50,000, and that's including their salary plus, like, you know, national insurance and that, employers' costs. So if you were to pay 50,000 a year for a policeman, that's over 2,200 policemen a year you could pay for. Imagine putting an extra 2,200 policemen back on the beat all across Scotland, especially on the islands. That would be very reassuring to people. Well, for people who aren't out committing crimes, obviously. Not so hot for the criminals. But it wouldn't cost anything. There's the thing. It would save money. It would save an immense amount of money. Because it's the money you're currently spending anyway, because you're wanking it away on those. But imagine having those extra 2,200 odd policemen out there. It's the same money spent there. But the money would be saved because there'd be fewer crimes. People would be safer. You know, property won't be damaged. It's a no-brainer. Unfortunately, the SNP have got no brains. Defence rests, me lad. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please do hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, particularly share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and if you're on an island, make sure that you're going to get burgled before midnight. And goodbye.